Hi. I would love to meet with you, but I think my schedule is kind of Swiss cheesy in the upcoming few days where there's only a few holes here and there. So I thought I would start out with a video to see if this helps. Because I looked and I thought, oh, maybe this is a problem, maybe this is a problem, maybe this is a problem. So I'll hopefully keep this short. But here's how I would start to approach that. And then, so dig around using the ideas that I share in this. And if that doesn't help, or if it helps partially, then we can reconvene after fall break. So, having said that, one of the first issues that I saw, or one of the first questions that I had, I've de-identified everything here. But we're looking at a specific population. We're looking at the methodology. We're looking at an intervention, which is like support group, and we're looking at outcomes, retention or belonging, both of which are written about heavily. So I think those are really good. And I just put them into keyword things as I do. So library catalog, that might be okay. Actually, it might be worthwhile searching in. But I have a research guide that has all the social work stuff put together. So let's use my list of databases that I've gotten there just as a starting point. And it's under PhD and Master's Help. I should just put everything under that. So one of the first things is validating keywords. That term, the acronym BIPOC, did I pronounce that right? I've heard it, but it's not been around a long time. So is that one of the issues that we've had? So if you wanted to validate keywords, you could look in other resources. But I think we can go into a database too. I think a great place to start, there's this one called Social Science Premium Collection that's got a little bit of everything. PsycInfo, I think, is great. And Education Full Text will end up with that one. So, but I'm going to start with PsycInfo. And then when we go to advanced search, so here's my case in point. If we put in that named or that acronymed population, it's suggesting other versions of things that we're looking at. So when we're just looking at psychology with that one keyword, there's only 162. So is that an issue, or do we need to add those other keywords to include those other populations? The problem we run into is if we don't do BIPOC, then we might just get one of these populations. So the identity of African American or Native American or indigenous people of color, all of those are identities that people take upon themselves, but it wouldn't be inclusive of the other ones, if that makes sense. So we may have to expand out to individual members of the BIPOC description. I feel awkward saying that. I feel like I'm mispronouncing it or something. When we add all of those, though, the population or the articles like go exponentially bigger. Is this something that might help? I'm not quite sure. But when you go in, I would do this one last. But I would look at the intervention in another line. And here you can see some other versions of support group. So is it group therapy? Is it therapy? Do they call it group support? So there might be other synonyms for that too. But since I think that one's safe to stick with. I put the asterisk there, and this works in a lot of databases where we don't know if it's support group or support groups. That'll catch both of those. So if we add that, it winnows it down dramatically. And then if we put in our outcome, then it goes down like precipitously small. So I wouldn't even put in quantitative, qualitative at this point. I would just start looking. And at this one, they have a lot of dissertations. So it narrows it down. I see the problem you're getting into. So let's go back. And let's do that same search in an education context. A lot of social services are implemented, delivered, measured in the context of education, which makes a lot of sense. because everyone goes to school. Or, I mean, that's the dream. So let's do that same search in here. So now we're in the context of K through 12, or what they call K through 16, which is like undergraduate. What do we get with that? There's only 5, but now all of a sudden we're in the context of education. Maybe this is the place to go. One thing that I would encourage you to do is say, well, are we looking for retention and belonging specifically as an outcome? Maybe taking out support group would be an answer to seeing like what are other ways that it's being talked about. Because all of a sudden it opens up. So mixing and matching the keywords or omitting them and seeing what's out there in that field of study. How would we analyze those things? You could go, well, one thing you could do is say, well, I want retention or belonging in the abstract. Then we can get rid of stuff where it's just casually thrown in there. So this is the name of our population. So that narrows it down dramatically. If the context of that intervention, support group, is something that you really want to stick with, maybe we could go down and look at subjects. Maybe we could look at articles. But let's see what some of the other subjects are. So maybe we could narrow it down to that. Holding power, I've never heard that. So college students, so maybe we could narrow it down to populations this way. And maybe support group is not what they're talking about. I'm trying to see if there's like another group. Mentoring might be one. I mean, that sounds like a group. It might be like a peer thing. Teacher education, group identity. So it gets, maybe the support group is where it gets caught up into the weeds of what we don't want. So an intervention that increases retention or belonging, typically there, especially if it's mentioned in the abstract, typically it's going to be that quantitative, qualitative, hopefully. And there's some junk that throws up in here. Usually those videos are just arbitrary. Oh, look at there. Experiences at the Native American at an academic library. So this is kind of how I would go about it. You could do support and have that be like, maybe if you were talking specifically about support groups, that might narrow it down way too much. So there's support advancement, social supports. No. I want to be like personify the support with like an intervention of people. Social support. So maybe breaking down that keyword of support group into support, and then that would allow support organizations, social support, and all that other support structures. Maybe that's the way to go. So what I would do, and there's only 25 to look through, what I would do is go through the same places that you like and try noodling around with the keywords like I've done. But education full text is going to be great. Sociological abstracts, PsycInfo, PAIS is a public policy database where people are paying money to try an intervention, and education is typically a context for a lot of those. And then, the Scopus and Web of Sciences. If we find too much of something, you can narrow down by like the number of times something has been cited. So I apologize, but hopefully this will help you dig around further. Let me know how it goes. I'll be on email till Tuesday. Then I'm going to be out. We're going to look for wolves in the Grand Tetons, which is very exciting. But let me know how it goes, and we can meet after the fall break, or we can talk via email, okay? Sorry for talking so much. I think this is an awesome opportunity, finding the assessment, so I'm totally on board, and I'm with you.